Everybody, thanks for tuning in here tonight. We'll give it a couple minutes to get everybody in. A couple people are still waiting to get in, so we'll hold tight here for a couple minutes. All right, we'll get started. Thanks again, everybody, for jumping on here for Travel Talk Live tonight. As this is the first edition of what I hope will be many. A lot of stuff going on in the world of travel. Of course, I'm John with Travel by John, your travel agent. And just want to bring everybody up to speed on several big stories in the world of travel this week. We will start off the top. It was yesterday afternoon, or actually, it was actually Tuesday afternoon. It came out late. That in 2 weeks, the CDC is going to require people to get a COVID test prior to boarding a flight to the United States within 72 hours of coming back. So if you are in a foreign country and you want to come back to the U.S., you're going to have to get a COVID test in your destination. That will be any foreign country. I've gotten some clarity. It looks like obviously places like Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands are exempted. And it looks like we're having some trouble connecting. So if we get kicked off here, we're just going to keep rolling. This will all be recorded for later as well. So anyway, if you are going to Mexico, I've heard several people say, "Well, gosh, I'm going to Mexico in 3 weeks. What's that going to look like?" Well, you're going to have a COVID test at your resort or your hotel prior to coming back to the United States. All the hotels have different. They're using different companies, so it'll really depend on that hotel and resort whether or not they're doing those on site, or if you will have to go to a local medical clinic or something to get those done. But it is going to be a requirement for the foreseeable future. That's probably going to discourage a lot of people from travel, because what happens if you test positive while you're in one of those locations and now you're stuck for 14 days at least before you can come back to the U.S.? Still a lot to work out over the next 2 weeks. We don't know how long this is going to go. My thought is it'll probably go for the next couple, maybe 3 months, until we get the COVID under control a little better here, and then it will hopefully start to die out or not be as enforced. But you will have to have that COVID test. And as part of that, American Airlines is introducing an app, a health passport that they are calling VeriFly, oddly enough, for travelers that'll help them maintain these test results and any other vaccine information or whatever related to COVID, your testing results. You can also, if you have recovered from COVID within the last 90 days, you do not have to get that test on the way back in. So you'd have that information as well. Again, you will not have to be tested if you have a letter from your doctor that you're clear to travel and you have had COVID within the last 3 months. So, but don't run out and try to get COVID. That's not good advice for anybody, because you never know how severe it will be. But anyway, you're going to have the testing requirements for travel. Work with your travel agent or your supplier. If you bought directly from them, they will give you the best information on where, when, how to get tested. So moving on, we have cruise itinerary updates. Some good news for a change. Royal Caribbean has added Barbados as a home port starting in December of 2021. Grandeur of the Seas will sail 7 and 14 night itineraries out of Barbados. There's some discussion if this is a way to maybe get around the CDC, not be subject to that because they would not come to any U.S. ports. That'll start in December of 2021. 7 and 14 days, a lot of great brand new ports of call there for that. Oceania Cruises also announced they're going to do an epic 180-day cruise. That's a little long even for me. 180 days around the world that it will visit 96 ports in 33 different countries. That will leave San Francisco on January the 15th of 2023. So quite a ways off, but still might be fun if you have a bucket list trip to go around the world. It'll be a great way to relatively inexpensively see the whole world. So Oceania, again, that 180-day cruise. Carnival has started construction on their new ship called Celebration. It's the sister ship to Mardi Gras, and she's scheduled to start sailing out of November of 2022 out of the port of Miami. And I know that seems like a long way off, but it is not quite as far off as you think it is. But they will start those sailings in November of 2022. And Celebrity is actually returning. They announced today they're going to return to the Mexican Riviera. They're going to sail out of Los Angeles with 7 and 8 night cruises in late 2022. And then they're going to have a 15-day Panama Canal transit cruise in December of 2022 on the Celebrity Millennium. So that'll be exciting. It's been a long time. I think it'll be 8 years by the time 2022 rolls around since Celebrity has sailed out of Los Angeles. So now for some bad news. The cruise lines all have pretty much updated their cancellations as well. One note before we get into the specifics, they are still waiting for the CDC to give them the specific, quote, technical details on what these test cruises you've heard me talk about will look like. They're going to have to take people on a kind of a simulated voyage where they will simulate a COVID outbreak and test all the protocols. And then once those test cruises are done, the CDC will take up to 60 days to look through the files, make sure everything went as according to plan. Then they will issue those conditional sailing certificates. But again, it's going to be 60 days from when they do those. So I'm really interested to see how quickly that happens, because that will kind of be our first clue for cruising. Thanks, Youssef, for joining us here tonight. Appreciate that. Youssef over from Morocco with Locals joining us on Facebook. Thank you again for checking in. But the cruise line cancellations, they're all kind of piecemealing this along. But Royal Caribbean Group made a kind of a stand the other day. They decided they're going to go ahead and cancel all their cruises through April. So Celebrity, Royal, those brands have canceled through April the 30th. Princess is canceled now all the way out till May 14th. Everybody else, Carnival, Norwegian, MSC, they are canceled through March 31st. But again, if we don't get these test cruises off the ground here in the next 3 to 6 weeks, it's looking much more like April, May before we really get started with any kind of cruising again. I am booked on July the 25th, I think it is, out of Galveston. I still feel pretty good about that. I know I've got people going out in late June. I feel decent about that as well. But we just don't know right now when cruising is going to restart. We just really don't know, and won't know anything. And Carnival on their earnings call the other day, Monday or Tuesday rather, kind of put it out there and put the onus on the CDC and said, we're waiting on guidance from them. We can't do anything until they kind of clear us. And if we're being blunt, it is January the 14th, and we're going to have a new president who will be inaugurated a week from yesterday. And so everything's kind of been on hold with that, I think. And the CDC has a new director. She has not said anything one way or another about what she plans on doing. Cruising is going to be one of the last things to restart, but I feel very strongly that by the summer we will at least have some cruises going out of U.S. ports. Now, whether that means full schedules, I sincerely doubt that, but I think we'll have some 4 to 5 day cruises going out by late summer. Had a couple questions earlier this week about what are cruises going to look like once they start. Well, again, we don't exactly know, but I can guarantee you a couple things. Number one, you will wear a mask whenever you cannot socially distance. Number two, social distancing, obviously, and they're going to do a lot of things in the terminal to keep people safe because they can't afford to have an outbreak. We've talked about this over and over again. They're going to do everything they can to keep from having an outbreak. They've asked Frank Del Rio of Norwegian. They asked Arnold Donald of Carnival, they've asked Richard Fain of Royal, are vaccines going to be required? And they're all doing the dance and saying, well, we don't know. The science still, we still haven't been told what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. I would bet that you're going to need to have some sort of fit to sale letter, maybe very similar to what the CDC is doing here with the test before you're going to get tested port side. Or if you have a vaccine, you may be just cleared to cruise. So that's really the week in news. It's been a crazy week. A lot of news kind of came, and frankly, not very much of it good, although we are very excited about the new Carnival ship. She's scheduled again to start in November of 2022. So really excited about that. She will be the sister to the Mardi Gras, which we hope will start here whenever cruising starts up out of Port Canaveral in Orlando, the brand new natural gas-powered ship, much more efficient. One other thing Carnival announced, keep in mind when I say Carnival Corporation, which owns, I think it's 11 different lines at this point, they have already gotten rid of 15 ships. They said in their statement on Monday or Tuesday, they're going to get rid of a total of 19. So that's 4 more, but they're going to come from across their brands. We don't know what ships those are yet. One thing that's important to know is if you know anyone that has a cruise credit for a future cruise, or their cruise was canceled and they don't know kind of what to do or where to get started, I'm happy to help with that myself. Any travel agent really is happy to help with that and get people rebooked, or if they want refunds, then whatever the case may be. I think that's one of the things. This is going to be, as I saw one of the articles this week, the year of the travel agent, where we really come in and really kind of help out. And we've been doing that for the last, oh gosh, it feels like it's been over a year at this point. Cancellations really started up in about March of last year, but you started seeing issues from elsewhere in the world in January of last year. So this is going to be the year of the travel agent, and really excited to help people plan that vacation. And I've had people ask me, well, if I can't cruise, what are some things I can do? Well, you can do all-inclusive resorts. Those are typically in the Caribbean and in Mexico and places like that, where you can go and hang out by the pool and eat and drink all you want. And even some of them have butlers that'll bring stuff to your room. So it's a pretty good vacation. Also, a lot of domestic travel. Domestic travel is huge, especially drivable locations. I even have several companies that do driving tours, where they basically make the hotel reservations for you, give you the guide and the map, and you kind of do the tour yourself, but it's all put together and it's all curated for you, so you don't have to hassle with all the planning. So there's lots of options for that. Of course, we're 6 hours from the beach. We're 6 hours from the mountains. So just be sure to travel this year. You can travel safely. Even if we can't cruise for a little while, it's still relatively safe to get on a plane and go to Mexico or go to the Caribbean. You just have the testing piece that's been added here, but it's still safe. I mean, these resorts have been open the entire time, and I think there's been one outbreak, and there's probably 200 resorts, and I think there's been one outbreak on a resort. So, and also keep in mind with cruising, there have been about, I think the count the other day was almost, we're at 200,000 people have cruised in Europe and off the coast of Singapore with Royal Caribbean is doing, I think it's Ovation of the Seas. I just lost what ship it was, but they're doing what they call cruises to nowhere out of Singapore. You have to be a Singapore resident. Basically, they go out and drive around for 3 days and come back. So we're at around 200,000 travelers have done cruises throughout Europe and Asia. And we've had, I think, 2 incidents, and none of them have resulted in outbreaks. Neither of them did. One was actually a false positive among several crew members and a couple of guests. But we're going to be the last to restart. We're still fighting this pandemic, and if you're struggling, I'm praying for everybody, and I know it's tough, but I also know people want to travel. And I saw a stat the other day in the elevator, an office building I was at, that said that 75% of people report being happier when they plan travel, at least 75 miles away from home. So I encourage you to do that. If it's anything from just a weekend getaway, up to you say, look, like we did, I booked a cruise because I want something to look forward to. I mean, this has been a long stretch with nothing to look forward to. And I feel very safe booking that cruise for late July. And if it doesn't sail, I still get a healthy onboard credit and we'll just rebook it for later. But it gives you something to look forward to and something to maybe ease some stress and anxiety But travel is good for the soul. It's not just good, it's not just fun. It's good for the soul to sit and get away from everything and turn off the TV for a little bit and get out and experience the world. And there's so much to see. And again, you can do it safely. A couple of weeks ago, Susan and I went up to Land Between the Lakes and just spent the night in a hotel. Went through LBL, went through the elk and bison prairie, got a bunch of awesome pictures of the elk who were out and about and the bison who almost rammed into the car. But I just encourage you to get out and travel, do something. And if you're the praying type, pray for these Caribbean islands and kind of forgotten, pray for the folks of Alaska because they're really, it's very likely they're going to go for 2 consecutive years with no cruise traffic, which for them, that doesn't sound like much, but there's a couple towns up there where 98% of their 98% of their income for the year, their revenue for the year is generated by the cruise industry. So just pray for those folks, keep those folks in mind. And just if you travel, you can be safe, do all the things you're doing here, stay away from crowds, wash your hands, wear your mask, but just get out and see what the U.S. has to offer. Or again, if you're inclined, go to a resort. Again, they're probably cleaner than your local grocery store or your local big box store because, again, they can't afford an outbreak. So, yeah, I know the testing requirement's a little onerous, but, if you test before you go and you're confident and test when you come back, when you go to come back and you're negative, then just go have a little vacation, get away from it all. A lot of the resorts are even doing workcations where you can go down there for a month. And it's not a whole lot of money, but it gives you a different perspective. They have areas set up for school, and they've really, the resort community's done a great job of kind of adapting and changing in this ever-changing world. Well, that's going to do it for this evening. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. This will be up on YouTube. If you're catching us later, appreciate you watching. And always, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. All my info is there below. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm even on TikTok, or you can get me by email. And we're going to try to do these maybe once every couple weeks until travel really picks up again. And I'll try to keep everybody abreast of all the news. But hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see everybody soon. And until the next time, happy travels.